For the purpose of our conversation,
I said that Matt Borges was attacking the credibility of the sheriff of Cuyahoga County by continually suggesting that Ed was not at work. It goes against what the sheriff has said about the release of those particular key card records. And then I reflected on the fact that, and I suggested that you had not received a death threat. You said, how do you know? So I ceded that, and I said, perhaps you have. And then I said that you had never shared that with me when I shared with you that I had in fact received death threats. And that when you have a young family, as we both do, you take those threats, as Ed FitzGerald does, you take those threats seriously. You take every death threat seriously, regardless if you have a young family or not. But personally speaking, of course, you think about these things. And you react accordingly. When John Kasich failed to release his travel records, I didn't have a press conference and suggest the Department of Public Safety was withholding those because they were making things up about John Kasich's security. I think it's wrong, but we have to understand that sheriffs and directors of public safety, superintendents of highway patrol have to have some kind of judgment when making these kinds of decisions, and we have to understand those. Right? Then I said that I never said that the assistant to the chief of staff was fired because she was working on the campaign. Quite the opposite. I said I believe she left under some kind of cloud. I stopped and then I said I'm not sure really why she left. And then I said about the chief of staff that based on the reading of the articles that have been published thus far, it appears she was working on the campaign when she would have been at work. But I could be wrong. I said that. But I could be wrong. And I think we're going to find out. It'd be much easier if we were all as interested as I am in what they were doing, but we're going to find out. We're going to find out whether or not Mary Taylor knew why she doesn't come to work, where she is during the middle of the day when she's not at work. We're going to hold her accountable, and we're going to hold those who steal money from the state accountable.
Chris, when Ed FitzGerald gets this level, if and when he gets this level of security, extra level, do you support then him being able to release these records now that he has a heightened amount of security? As
long as the director of that detail, the superintendent of the highway patrol, the sheriff of Cuyahoga County, on the flip side with John Kasich, the same. If they believe it is appropriate, then I'll support their decisions.
Isn't Plunderbund, aren't they suing to get those records that you say we understand the security?
I don't know what they're suing. We've typically filed lawsuits on constitutional questions regarding voting, and as I indicated, each and every time we've won. Each and every time I've stood forward and said we're going to sue about these issues, we will win, and each and every time we have won, most recently yesterday. We're not a litigant on Plunderbund's case.
Well, I'm not saying that, but aren't they doing, I mean, essentially you don't have to because they're doing it for you. I mean, not for you, but they're doing it. I mean, wouldn't you get those records if they win?
In the old days, we could depend on a lot of people to file a records request.
Last question?